Hi, good afternoon. This is the Black Renegade Rising. I am simply a maven looking for my haven on the continent. This is going to be a short video, but I have thought long and hard today about whether or not to make it. Today, America once again shows us, melanated individuals, what they really think of us. We built the infrastructure, we did all the hard work, we helped the railroads, and so on. Built the White House and numerous universities of higher education that we were not even allowed to go to until more recently. But the terrorism, the insurrection, the insidiousness that happened today at the Capitol, could that have been avoided? Of course. If the cops who were working there had done their job, things would not have gotten out of hand. It is a striking commentary on really what America thinks of melanated individuals like myself. This summer, this fall, and this past spring of course 2020, during the Black Lives Matter movement, protesters, peaceful protesters mind you, were of course at every turn. America, many of the counter-protesters as well as the police officers really showed us what they thought of us, which is not much. The reason why I created this channel is to make sure melanated individuals understand that America, the Americas, the Caribbean, or anywhere else you may have ended up courtesy of the slave trade, does not have to be it. There is a place. It is called the continent, as some people like to refer to it. Africa, 54 different countries. Pick your choice on where you may feel more comfortable. Yes, it's true some of those countries may be considered third world and not as developed. But let me tell you, you'll feel much safer there than you do here. Again, all the insurrection that has happened, the terrorism, by any other name than terrorism, that has been displayed today at the Capitol, again, is simply a reminder that Black lives have not and have never mattered in this country and within the Western Hemisphere. Western countries wanted the free labor, so they took it from the continent of Africa and moved us around the world. There's over 8 million people of African descent in Iran, for example. Turkey has also had their share. The Sadis of India is another group that is now divided into 2 different states in India. The Muslim majority is in one state, the Christian majority is in another. We have landed all around the world due to the slave trade and the insidious nature of the world working against melanated individuals. Yes, it's true that we are the oldest group of humans on this planet, and that we did give birth to everyone else, whether you're white, whether you're Latino, Asian, or whatever. You descended from us. Unfortunately, we are not a petty people in the respects that we look for vengeance and reprisals and retribution. If we had, we probably would not be so fractured at this moment. Again, this video is just to show you the contrast in how Black Lives Matter versus when white people get upset about the democratic process working as it was intended by allowing people to vote, and for people expressing their votes and picking 2 Democratic candidates as opposed to the Republican choices. How when things are almost fair, white people just can't deal with it if things are not going their way. Again, this is simply just a reminder that you do have a choice. And again, like I mentioned, the 54 countries within the African continent may not be your cup of tea, but that's okay. There's a number of Asian countries as well as European countries that a number of African Americans and other Africans of the diaspora have found themselves. And the reality is, it's an improvement. Some people are not looking to live their best lives. They simply want to get that foot off their neck. Some people want to be able to breathe without suffocating at every turn. And so therefore some relief is better than no relief. And with that said, again, I just wanted to point out all the craziness that's going on, and just another big massive reminder on a huge scale that's going to be televised internationally. This information is getting out around the world on what white Americans are doing and how they're acting. As Michelle Obama and Barack Obama would say, when their opponents would go low, they would go high. And this is just showing you how low they'll go. They'll cheat, they'll steal, they resort to violence at every turn. This country obviously was meant, or was just simply made from violence. The violence against the natives that were here, the violence against the black bodies that were brought here in the MAFA, or the transatlantic slave trade, the rapes, the murders, the pillaging of land and people's bodies, the horrible conditions in which people were made to live in and survive in while building wealth for other people who would be able to pass that down to their grandchildren and great-grandchildren and great-grandchildren who are now moving around and also were most likely part of that insurrection at the Capitol. Again, people, these are no slight and small incidents that are happening. These are big deals. Many of the individuals at the Capitol didn't even bother with the mask, let alone we do know it's for most people's safety. They wanted their faces shown. They know nothing is going to happen. They're not going to be prosecuted. They're not going to go to jail. They're probably not even going to lose their jobs for their actions. But let one black person or melanated individual stand up and say, hey, Black Lives Matter. My life matters. I matter. And watch, like Colin Kaepernick, you lose your job, people talk about you, people take sides, and people try to label you a traitor, when in reality, those who supposedly call this a great nation are the ones who are the traitors. They don't believe in the Constitution. They really don't. They don't believe in law and order. They really don't. What they believe in is that things go their way. That there is a certain order that they want, and it's white order. They don't want the people who built this country to have a moment to breathe without their feet being on our necks. They never meant that to happen, and it hasn't. Whether it was slavery, the end of slavery, Reconstruction, the Jim Crow, now the new Jim Crow period in which we're living through, or the mass incarceration period, things were never meant to be equal. They show us that in our life expectancies. They show us that in our pay. They show us that in even when we obtain the correct levels of education, how we are still shortchanged and overlooked, devalued, and just completely avoided. They show us this in where we're allowed to buy homes. They show us this in where our kids go to school. They show us this in who teaches our kids. How black and brown individuals are not given the same opportunities to teach our children, even when they do have the correct criteria, education. This is enough of my rant for today. But again, this is the Black Renegade Rising. I am simply a maven looking for my haven on the continent. Thank you again for joining me, and stay tuned to our next episode.